All right, we're live. Late Sunday night video for you guys tonight. 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. All my European buddies are out, and we'll see if we'll pick any West Coast folks up here. Don't really have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about today. I posted a question on the community tab, I guess on Thursday or Friday, and I've got sort of 6 things to talk about. I'm getting my Walter Becker amps tomorrow from the Julian's auction that I ran, so I'll be doing a video on that this week. I'll also be posting my Les Paul restore vid, the full restore vid of that as well. And then I got like 6 other projects I'm working on. You can see my list running here. I actually had so much to do over the last couple of weeks that it was time to actually build a list. I'm not really into lists, but just way too much stuff going on. So wanted to just sort of write stuff out. So we got 3 of you guys joining me now. I had to wait for Texas Toast to finish his live video, and then I figured I'd do mine afterwards, and then had to put the kids to bed. So trying a late Sunday night video here for y'all, and we'll see how it goes. But just wanted to answer the questions from the community tab, and then just do the live Q&A session like we've done before. The first question I got on the community tab was, how do you get the younger guys interested in guitars and getting sort of the kids interested in guitar? You got to go where they're at, which means like a Fortnite or gaming system or something along those lines. That'll get the younger guys interested in the guitar. Put a /axe or something like that into Fortnite, and you'll definitely pick up some kids just wondering what the heck the guitar is. Interesting thing is Gibson and I don't know, I can't remember who owns Fortnite, but those are owned by the same private equity company. So there should be some axes happening there. If you got some young boys playing that game and watching them play, you can always see there is a natural tie-in to what they're using to chop up the stuff anyway. So you got to get guitars into Fortnite. That's probably the first thing I would do. What's up, Frugal? How you doing? Am I out of brown paint yet? I actually had to buy more brown paint to do that one anyway. I actually have to send that to Brad. It's all wrapped up. I got a whole bunch of stuff sold now. Sold my Dumbo clone, sewn a couple projects, and finally started to pack all that stuff up. And I don't think I'll be doing a dump for a while. I think I will be doing a pink and black and white one. That color came out really well. And then I can do like a pink stained top. So we'll have some fun with that. What's up, Julian? No pink. Yeah, I know. Sorry. All right. The second question was, what are my thoughts on multiscale guitars? I love multiscale guitars. I actually got a printout of one sitting there that I need to get to. Just haven't yet. It's on my list of stuff to do. I am drinking the good stuff tonight, guys. I am drinking Resilient 15-year-old straight bourbon whiskey, uncut, 127 proof, barrel 61, corn, rye, and barley. It is a hot whiskey. It is really, really good. Way peppery, more so than I've ever had before. So for Sunday night, I could be watching the Bears lose, but I would figure I'd talk to you guys. It'd be much, much better. All right, so we'll get back to sort of the 5 topics. The first one was on how to get the younger guys involved in the guitar. The second was on multi-scale guitars. I did a review of Ormsby's multi-scale guitar maybe a month ago. I did that first Sunday conversation for you guys. I think he's sort of the leader in the pack right now. There's a couple other folks making that, but he's got those mellow guitars. I like the 6-string, I don't know if I really need that 7-string. I do like the ergonomics of that guitar. The Parker Fly guitars were awesome back in the day. I always wanted one. I just never got one. I think once I get some money saved up and get past some of the legal stuff I've got going on, I'll get one of those. I always loved that guitar, that style, that design. Supposedly they were supposed to bring them back, but I haven't seen them come back yet. So we'll get one of those eventually. I think that was sort of the new style guitar that came out about 20 years ago when I first started playing. I always wanted one. I just never got to one. I don't really have anything that's ergonomic today. Yeah, I've sort of played with the 8 strings. I just don't need it. That's not my style. I mean, I'm playing the blues, so really only need 2 strings for that. You guys got any other questions out there? We're a little light tonight. I don't think Sunday night's the right night to do this, but we'll give it a go. The other question I got was, how do you roast wood yourself? That was posted on the community tab, and I haven't actually roasted my own wood. That was not something I wanted to get into. I've bought a lot of roasted wood. Kimball Hardwoods has got some roasted wood. I've actually got 2 pieces from him for a neck I got to build. What's up, Mark? I told you I'd go on late. I didn't think you'd join me here. You can roast your own wood. I don't know if I would suggest it. Essentially, what you're going to do is get your oven to like 180, 200 degrees and let that wood bake for a couple of hours. The thing is, you got to clamp that wood down to the sort of oven, and it's going to smoke and it's going to make your house smell like hell. I haven't done that yet. I want to try it, but I don't know. It's easier to buy from the pros. They've got a pretty good selection. Even some of the local hardwood suppliers have some of that roasted wood. So if you want to roast your own wood, you're going to have to get used to a really stinky house. And you have to read up on it online as well. From what I saw, it was like 6 hours at 200 degrees or something like that. That would kind of get you to roast your own wood. Pro Kick is asking if I'm in a band. No, I'm not in a band. I did play in college for a little bit. I would love to see that video. We serenaded some sorority houses, and I was actually in one of the competitions on campus, but I haven't played in a band in a while. Probably should. Just, it's like one more thing that I can't get to doing the band. All right. What else we got here? Any other questions from you guys? Got 9, 10, 11, a couple of us joining here. Let's see. The other question I had on the community tab was, why does it take my guitar tech 1 month to fix 1 fret? I thought that was pretty funny as I read that. Usually when you take your guitar to a shop, he has got, what's up, George? When you take your guitar to a shop, he has got a usually 3 month, not 3 months, but like a 3-week sort of lag. So if you bring in a guitar that has like a basic setup, he'll try and turn that around a week or 2. Fret work, if he's good at it, he could probably do it in 3 weeks. Anything longer than a month for a tech to replace a fret or just file it down or level it or whatever is probably a problem. You probably just need to call him and pester him, say, hey man, what are you doing? It is unacceptable unless he's got like a backlog of work, which is completely possible. You never know. Right, Julian? You probably got a backlog of work at any given time. Dad and Dax, what's going on? So if your tech can't get back to you for a simple 1 fret, probably got to call him out on that. Leveling 1 fret is pretty easy to do. I think I even did a video on one for Kevin back in the day. That should be a pretty simple repair. Yeah, for a setup, I mean, if you're doing a setup, you could get a setup done in like 30 minutes. That's an easy thing to do. Some guys don't like doing fret work. I don't really like doing fret work, but I always end up doing it. Pro Kick 100 down for collab. Yeah, I'll talk to anybody about doing a collaboration. Will I actually do it? I don't know. Depends. Mark's asking what my schedule is, and that's my schedule. I've got the Monster Telly. I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram. I'm almost done with that. That's one big project I'm working on. That's a collaboration with a guy called Moldy Creations. He's on Instagram. He's got some awesome artwork. That's one I wanted to get done for Halloween, but they sent me the wrong epoxy, and I got a huge mess on my hands. So that didn't turn out all that well. I've got a Strat I'm working on for a pretty big Instagrammer, Brandon Dion. I don't know if you guys are Instagram. He's sort of like my comedian guitarist. He's got an awesome channel. He does a lot of fun things. I thought it was great to work with him. So I'm getting pretty close with that. I'm actually doing natural binding right now downstairs in the basement. Got some tape from Glue Boost, some special tape. So I'm using that. So I got a couple videos coming out of that. And then I'm trying to get the double neck done this week for sure. Kevin within Minor is actually playing a bunch of shows coming up. The weekend right before Christmas in December in New Orleans. Supposed to go to that show, but we're actually hosting Christmas for 50 people. So I don't think I can peel off and go to New Orleans for that weekend. The Walla Walla guitar just sold. I've got 3 whiskey barrel guitars I'm working on. One is a special commission you guys will see coming up. Can't really get into that. And then just 2 standard whiskey barrel guitars. One that might actually have something coming. Very odd story. I'm not going to lead into it, but there might be something actually happening with that. And then I'm retopping another guitar that guys might have seen. I'm going to use some Odie's oil on the back of Ash. And then I'll be going live a couple times this week. Just try going live a couple different days, a couple different times, see what I can get up some traction. I know Matt goes live pretty much same time every Sunday, and he gets a pretty good crowd. I jump on there and try and not steal the spotlight, but just sort of chime in here and there. So I'll go live a couple different times this week. I was going to take this down to the shop and answer questions down in the shop, but just way too many things happening today, and my computer was dead anyway, so couldn't do that. All right. Are my legal problems related to the guitar headstock shape? No, they're not. And I'm waiting for clearance from my lawyer to talk about what my problems are legally. So one of the reasons I put on a bunch of stuff on eBay was to cover some lawyer bills I had to pay. I had to put some guys on retainers to just sort of clear my butt if something happened. So I'm hoping. I haven't heard a response back from the company, and it's kind of a surprise. If you guys follow my channel, you know what it is because it disappeared. But I'm trying to be good. All right, so a bunch of questions now here. We are 13 minutes in. I had 20 guys, I think, once at one point join us. A little bit better of a crowd than the first 5 minutes. I'm always joining at sort of off times. It's not a great time to be doing this. And for Sunday night, I got a little bourbon here, a little bourbon for myself. It's this stuff called Resilient, 15 years old, straight out of the barrel, 127 proof, and it is peppery. Woo! It's good stuff. Let's get back to some questions. Julian's asking about 0 frets. I don't like doing 0 frets. 0 frets can be a pretty big pain in terms of just it's odd. I guess you could say that you have to level the frets, and you still got to cut a nut slot or something along those lines. You want that fret to. Guys are grinders sometimes, so if you're grinding on a 0 fret, that fret will move, you could potentially go out of tune. So I really like doing just the standard nut. So no zero nuts for me, zero frets. Let's see what else. Spike the Frugal Fixer is doing some gold prospecting equipment, and now live doing guitars. I actually think I found some of your stuff. You sent me a video on some of the stuff that you were making, and I actually watched a couple of them. It was pretty neat. I think you had like a specific grader or something along those lines. I remember you shot me a note, and I started digging out some of your vids. That's pretty cool. I should make a Relic Sunburst Jazzmaster. I have the Jazzmaster that I made sit in the basement. That one will go up for sale as well. It's got a short scale neck, like a 24-inch scale neck with that clear walnut body and some heat-treated ash. That will go on eBay here shortly. That's another one that I got to dump. What else? I have an artist who can do great airbrush work. What types of paints can she use to clear coat with nitro over it? Usually, if you want to put nitro over, you're gonna have to sort of use nitro and tint the nitro and then spray clear nitro over it. That's what all the big guys do. For me, I use a ton of different stuff. But if you're gonna specifically sit with nitro, you're gonna have to get like a tinted nitro and then spray. That's sort of the best to do. That was from Steve. Yes, Steve. And I'm drinking my bourbon. Yes. It's 12 a.m. in Argentina. What are you doing in Argentina, man? I thought you were in, what was it? I met you up in Highland Park. What are you doing in Argentina now? Weller's Antique 107. Yeah, I could probably do a bourbon channel at this point. Grandpa up in Wisconsin had some Antique 107. Actually, it was pretty good. My father-in-law swears by Weller's, and I got some up in the shelf here. I'm not a big fan. Hey, Jimmy D, what's up, neighbor? I didn't think you'd be joining me. Let's see. Weller 107. Yes, I like that stuff. Go to bed. Good night. Got a kid wandering down here. Why do I use eBay over Reverb? Because I use eBay because I actually want to get rid of stuff. I don't want to sell stuff. I don't want to list stuff and sit on it. I just want to sell stuff. So I put stuff on eBay just to let it go. I've got, let's see, I the 2 amps, the Fender PA 100 sold, and then my Dumble clone sold. I just want stuff to go. When I'm ready to let it go, I let it go, and I just don't care. So for me, it's just time to move gear sometimes. Like I accumulate a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't think I can show you everything I got here. I'll move the camera for you guys. Oh, that's not even all of it. But that's just, most of those are mine. And then I've got some stuff in the basement that I keep away from the kids. But I've just got way too much stuff. So when I when I want to move stuff, it just goes. I need to let it go. Mr. Jim, be nice. I know your name there. Certain guys, I remember their names. Mr. Jim was our neighbor from a couple years ago. I haven't seen him in a while. All right, what else we got here? Just reading the questions here. Everyone's commenting, but there's no questions. Let's see. Mark's saying, I'd love to see you develop a new hip guitar for the new generation of Gravity 2. You're putting too much pressure on me, Mark. I don't have that in my head. I think I'd spoken to this earlier. Got to get guitars into Fortnite. Got to get the axe and all that stuff so the kids know what they are. I don't have that. I think the ukuleles, just getting anybody to play anything string is a big deal. That's why I built my daughters the flippy guitar, sequin guitar, just to get them in. So let's see what else we got here. Love your content. Hobby trip. eBay's the best place to see gear. Yeah, you know, I think I might actually do a weekly eBay excursion video where I just sort of scroll through eBay and show you some of the good projects that I would jump on. Sam Crack does what is it? He does like car restorations, and he scrolls through one of the auction sites and shows guys different projects. I think I might actually do that with eBay. I think you guys would appreciate that. That might be a great way just to show you what I'm looking for, what I'm looking at, what I pass on, because I pick up a lot of gear. You know, like I got that resonator, and the resonator I picked up way too expensive, way overpaid, but too good of a deal to pass up. So what's my eBay account? My eBay account is BigD_guitars. I don't have anything up there right now. Mr. Jim, I do remember your guitar. I think I probably should sand that down and put a stain on it. I think you wanted a natural stain. I think I need to put like a nice coloring on it. You'll never part with it. What's the easiest? Here we go. Finally got a real question. 21 minutes in. What's the easiest high gloss finish to apply for beginners? This is probably one of the harder things for beginners to get right. I actually think True Oil is really easy to apply and get right for beginners. I've got like 3 different masterclass videos out there where I just apply the True Oil, and then you get that high gloss buff. Spraying usually requires you to sand and level the finish, and that can be really, really difficult sometimes. The 2K stuff is really easy to use, but it's also the most toxic stuff. So if you have some of the spray equipment and a respirator, that stuff is really easy to use, but you got to wear gloves, and it's a lot of work. So the True Oil is actually really easy to use. I do like I said, a couple hour-long videos you can watch. That's sort of the easiest high gloss, because you can even buff it. So once you let it dry for about 4 or 5 weeks, you can then buff it to get a really high gloss buff. This is True Oil. Again, I will bring this out again. This guitar, it is Chicago. This is True Oil. High gloss, buffed out, pretty simple to apply. This was nice. There's no stain on here or anything like that. It's the Skyline inlaid with my CNC. But this is True Oil. It's got a pretty decent gloss. It's pretty durable. The longer it dries, the harder it gets. So I would always recommend True Oil for you guys. That's my thing. Oh my God, we got a lot of questions now. Let's see. Any reliable template makers you can recommend in order to set up LP templates from the guy? Dad and Dax is asking about templates, and who do I always recommend? I think it's guitarbuildingtemplates.com. I've been using him for years. I can't remember his name. Ronnie. I think it's Ronnie over there. He's always been great for me. Obviously, he knows who I am and puts stuff out pretty quickly. Send him a note. He's in Florida. He's retired. Maybe he's slow just to respond. The other guy I like is Guitar and Woods in Portugal. And you ask, why would I buy templates from Portugal when I can get any templates here? The guy's awesome. He shared a whole bunch of work with me, and I will always recommend him. I've got a bunch of the clear plastic templates that I use. Guitars and Woods is just a great guy, and I love his templates, and I would always recommend him for stuff. There's also a guy who has a strap body template that I've used. I can't remember his name. I got it on eBay, but he's got a 1/2-inch laser engraved Strat template that I really liked. Gary's asking, let's see, too many questions. Are any of the Chinese kits good? The kit that Brad and I built was of decent quality. Solo music gear If you go to Brad's site, he's got like a referral link for himself. You can use that. I would recommend going with them. That SG kit was pretty good. There's another, I think the Albatross kits are decent quality. I built a base kit many years ago with the fractal burn-in. I don't know if you guys remember that one. That kit was decent. And then there's a lot of randomness out there. I would rather buy a brand name than, not a brand name. I'd rather, buy something like from Solo or one of the bigger guys that have been around, because kit makers come and go. Mark, I'm not going to go there. Better woods to work with is Julian's question. Depends on what you want. I always recommend poplar to start. It's like the perfect wood. It's easy to machine, relatively. It's not as hard as maple or one of those. But then it's still got a decent tone. It's pretty cheap. And if you screw up a poplar guitar, no one's going to really care. Did you use that UV activate sanding sealer? No, I bought those UV light kits to age wood and make them darker. Mark's got a neck on his Strat that we played with. We darkened up with the UV lights. I haven't bought that specific. I think it's like a Solicure special lacquer. I haven't used that. Yeah, Potvin and Bartlett, they do sell great templates. I think I've used Bartlett's stuff before. How do I prefer to do fret slots? I do fret slots with the actual StewMac template. I have a fret slotting jig with the blade, and I've had that same blade for, I guess, 10 years, as crazy as that sounds. I haven't even sharpened it. But that was one of the better investments I made, because I use that all the time. Every guitar I've built uses that fret slotting template. I don't cut them by hand. When I do the multi-scale guitar, I'll cut those by hand, because my CNC isn't going to do it, and it's just easier to do that by hand. So I'll do that shortly. All right, where are we here? Oh my God, too many questions. Fret slots. Many opinions out there recommend to seal mahogany. Depends on what you want to do with the mahogany. If you're going to seal mahogany, guys will put the grain filler in and then seal it. If you want the perfectly mirrored finish, you have to use like a grain sealer and then put your lacquer over it. I love letting my guitars breathe, and I refuse to put sanding sealer on them for the most part unless it's recommended. It makes a huge difference. So let's see. Guitar building templates are not accurate. There are some guys that are better than others. The guitar building templates that I've used have been great. I have not had any problems with them. Let's see. Will laminated pine or cedar from the hardware store work for a cheap first try for guitar body? Is the wood too soft? The problem when you buy the Home Depot or Lowe's wood for a guitar body is that wood is dried to a different moisture. So construction grade lumber is dried to 15%, and wood for Luthier work is dried to 5 to 8%. So that wood's still pretty wet. I would prefer to use cedar than pine, to be quite honest. Cedar has just a little bit different of a moisture content. Pine, it's just a little bit too soft. Cedar is like a magical wood. I would use cedar. Let's see. Another local builder. I see any of the Fat Cat stuff. Too many questions. What is the best glue to use on a set neck guitar joint? I mean, honestly, I swear by hide glue. I don't know if I'm there yet. I do notice a difference when I use hide glue than regular yellow glue. I use a lot of regular yellow glue, and the last couple of guitars I've made use hide glue. I think I'd like to stick with hide glue, but sometimes it's just too much work, too much hassle to use. Evertune or Tune-O-Matic. I want to do an Evertune bridge. I've actually talked to those guys a couple of times. they don't do free stuff. So I've got to buy one. I need to take the money that I've sold all the stuff and buy one. I actually saw someone on Instagram with an Evertune LP setup. I thought that looked awesome. Let's see. Pickup prices in Argentina are super expensive due to taxes, 2.5 times the standard price. Is it worth winding your own if you build guitars, or just the cheap ones and upgrade them when possible? That is a great question. If you cannot wind your own pickups, you can buy the cheap Chinese stuff and hack them. You can take some different magnets, so you can pop off the ceramic magnets and you can put on the I'm not even going to say it because I'm going to butcher it, but you can put on the neodymium magnets, and you can sort of hack a pickup to get it a lot harder, or just a different tone. The ceramic pickups kind of suck, but what I'll do is buy some magnets and add them to a cheap guitar. What you're going to do is expand the magnetic field, and you'll get a little bit different of a tone. Winding pickups is actually really cheap. It just requires, like, you can hand wind them and you hold that wire steady. Yeah, it requires a lot of patience. But you can buy the 42 gauge plain enamel wire and get a lot of pickups out of them. That might be your best bet versus buying them, or buy the cheap China stuff and then add some magnets. You can get a lot of fun tones out of them. Whenever I get a cheap Telly or cheap Strat or cheap humbucker, I always add a couple magnets to them. That's sort of my fun way of hot rodding some pickups. So I always wind these to my specific specs, and these things sound great. I love the 42 gauge plain enamel wire. That is the best wire. That's, I've got like a 59 spec neck, and then a little bit sort of a medium telly bridge, and the thing sounds awesome. All right, some other questions. Hope that helped you, Pablo. If I don't have a buffing wheel, how do I get a great shine with True Oil? A great shine with True Oil is possible. You just have to let the stuff dry long enough, and then you can use some car wax, apply it with a drill, put it on the body, go back and forth, and then rub it off, and you should be able to get that guitar to a pretty decent sheen if you use True Oil. I've done that in the past, and that's worked out pretty good. So those buffs are available at like Ace or Lowe's. You put them in a drill, put them in the chuck, and then apply a wax, and then buff it off. But you got to let that True Oil dry for a while, so you're gonna have a huge problem. Best bridge replacement for a Gibson Les Paul or a solo DIY Les Paul kit. I don't know. I don't know for the best bridge for a Les Paul. I don't know. I like the locking bridge stuff. I don't even know who made those now. My brain is gone at this point. I like the bridges that lock on. Honestly, if you replace the saddles with the Graphtec saddles, leave the original bridge, you're pretty good. I love the Graphtec stuff. Hardware, depending on the hardware, it's sometimes hit or miss, but the Graphtec saddles usually end up working out pretty good. All right, ship me some Argentina steak. Would love that. All right. What else we got here? We are about 35 minutes in. It's 9:34 Central Time. This sucker will be for sale shortly. Got a barnwood back, oak core, whiskey barrel. This thing sounds great. I was playing it earlier. I've got a Mesa Boogie Lone Star. What do I have? Heartbreaker. I got a Mesa Boogie Heartbreaker I bought years ago. It is an awesome, awesome amp. I have a couple pieces of gear that I love. That's one of them. I actually had someone service it, and they didn't do a great job, but the place to take it back to is too far now. And so it was fine, and I need to get the tubes replaced. And he said that something wasn't stock, and he was going to make it stock again. And I don't have time to play with electronics anymore for the most part, so I'm just sort of stuck with it. But I am getting all of my Walter Becker from Steely Dan amps in tomorrow. So we'll be doing a whole bunch of videos on those. I got 4 amps coming. I overpaid on one and got an incredible steal on some others. So we're going to do some videos on that stuff coming up here shortly. That'll fill up the week. And for those of you that are on, I'll go live a couple more times this week. I've got some free time. And we'll just see how this goes. If there's a better day, Texas Toast has sort of got midday Sundays. I do it in the morning, but it's really rough. Not a whole lot of people join me. So we're trying Sunday night late just to see some of my West Coast brethren, see who joins us and who's got some questions, and any sort of night owls before they go to work on Sunday here on the East Coast. We'll chip in and chime in. So 36 minutes in. What else you guys got? Any other sort of random questions, one-offs? Anything? Bueller? Going to enjoy my whiskey here for the rest of the night. Mr. Jim, Rams 10, Bears 7. Yeah, this is exactly why I decided to go live and chat with you guys versus watching a shitty Bears game. One more question here from Mr. Bobby. Can you use fret nippers to remove frets, or do you need fret pullers? If you're pulling a fret, you need to get in with something that's flat, and there are end nippers or fret pullers. The thing is, you just want to get that fret with a nipper that's can just sort of pull the fret up. You don't actually need to get fully under the fret, but you do need to be able to bite the fret and pull it up. So if I was going to pull this fret up here, what I would do is I would hold a soldering iron here, heat it up. It helps sort of loosen up the wood and the glue. If there was glue, you can sort of bite down and just wiggle it up. You don't really necessarily need end nippers or special pliers, but you need them just sort of low enough that it'll bite the fret and pull it off. You're not going to obviously reuse the fret, so we can you don't have to worry about getting the special tools. I've got most of that stuff only because I've just bought a lot of random things. If you go to Ace Hardware, they do have smaller pliers. They're downstairs. This is why I need to do one of these videos downstairs, because you guys would love to see me live in the shop. I don't have them up here, but Ace sells a pair of flat nippers that are really cheap. I have like 2 or 3 pairs, and that can pull the fret relatively easily. Go to Ace, look for flat end nippers. They're like 10 or 15 bucks. I go into a significant amount of tool shops, hardware stores to find cheap stuff. That was one of the better finds that I've got. You guys are all now asking a ton of questions. Best bit for routing jazz pickups. The best bits are either CMT bits, the orange bits, or the white side router bits. Those are the 2 places that I get bits. When I worked for Sears, I was using Craftsman bits, but they weren't as good as the CMT or the white side. Those are the bits I would go with for sure. Mark is asking, who is my favorite rock band? Who is my favorite guitarist? Mark, you should do a podcast with me and interview me. That might be on the books here shortly. I don't know if I have a favorite anything. I'd say T-Bone Walker is very high on my list. He's what got me into just so many other artists. I bought a blues sampler CD when I was 16 or 17, and I heard the song Brown Skin Woman, and he plays just sort of mean jazz blues, and that got me hooked. Now, obviously, I loved like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix was first, Stevie Ray Vaughan was second. Those are my sort of top two-ish. Clapton was third. I'd say as I've gotten a little bit older, I don't know. I've been playing "Reconsider Baby" by Clapton a lot over the last couple of days. I want to wow you guys with my chops on my next live video or whatever. And I love his subtleness, the way he picks that song he's playing with. He's playing with his thumb and his pointer and middle finger. And Justin does that as well. If you watch him play, he plays with the three. And I've been playing with a lot. Those are like my top three, kind of like, it's standard Clapton, Hendrix, Stevie Vaughan, but then B.B. King, Freddie King, Albert King, and T-Bone Walker for me started it all. So those are my favorites. And then in terms of rock band, got to be like AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, the standards. Work sucks. Fire up the CNC. Some random comments. Dax is going to bed. Bobby, go to Ace before you do your refret. We're jumping all over the place. Mr. Jimmy is asking a good capo. Supposedly Gibson has some pretty good capos with their logo on them. I can't remember who makes them, but those are actually supposed to be pretty good. You might want to try those, Mr. Jim. If I get anything free, I'll bring you one over or have my mother-in-law drop one off. What's up, Johnny? Caught you streaming. Looks like you're about done. No, John, fire away. I'll give you 10 minutes here for sure. Mark, I am a Chicago blues guy. Yeah, I am. I've got to do a video on Chicago blues with my dad. I don't know if he'll go live with me. It's hard for him to get in front of the camera, but my family's got some history with Chicago blues. The Chess brothers are actually Polacks, and were very well known back in the day with the blues artists. And my grandfather and my dad's grandfather, we actually had a Polish restaurant in the city of Chicago, and all the famous Polacks would come through our restaurant back in the day. My dad was a youth and was eating tons of pastries and got to interact with some of those folks. And he said that my grandfather knew all those guys, and he remembers bits and pieces. Maybe I'll do an interview with him, but I have a little bit of family lineage in the Chicago blues. I like to sort of, I don't know. It's pretty cool. On my mom's side, my great-great-grandfather built violins in Poland, which is actually pretty cool because for some reason there's nothing like building an instrument. I don't know if that's in my blood or whatever. And the weird thing is when we were in North Carolina on the other side of the Appalachian Mountains, there's just something about that area that's like, I got to be here. Like, this feels like me. So it's pretty funny to hear different stories and what people are saying, because it's Chicago blues is in my blood. The blues is something I do, and then building it, just sort of this is what I like doing. So a couple more questions. We're at 45 minutes. What's up, Chris? What chisels are you doing? Inlay work, or do you CNC? So I do a little bit of everything for inlay work. Narix chisels are the best chisels in the market. There was an article in Fine Woodworking years ago. They rated the Narix chisels. I think they're made in Czechoslovakia or one of those former countries. I've had those for years, and they are awesome. And I haven't even sharpened them, and they are just awesome chisels for cutting stuff or doing whatever. Before I got used to doing the router, I would actually do my pickups with chisels. You could chisel them out because I was scared to use a router, and I those Narix chisels were awesome. So I was playing with them. Lots of noise. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Julian. Don't give me any grief here. What's up from Alabama? I love Alabama. I wish I would have made it to Muscle Shoals when I was in Nashville. That was one of the cities I didn't make it to. I had like 10 cities I wanted to get to. That was one of them. Didn't make it. Am I ever going to do an acoustic? I remember you did that Gibson copy, but I'm like a Dreadnought. So the real hardcore listeners would have remembered my Tonewood testing acoustic guitar. I don't know. I don't want to do an acoustic. I'm looking at J200s to buy for myself. It just requires a whole nother set of tools, a whole nother set of things to do. And I haven't got to it yet. I'll get there eventually. I don't know. It's one more thing. I have a top for another arch top, and I'm sitting on it. It's a high grade top. It just requires so much more time and effort. And this is my list of stuff I'm supposed to do in the next 5 days, and I don't actually know if I'm going to get to. Thank God Kevin hasn't joined yet, because he'd be yelling at me to finish his guitar. I'm not there yet. But yeah, John, I'll eventually get into acoustic. If I had more time, I would probably build it, because I need like a full hour to a day. I want to do it right. So, Mark, you are in the foothills of Appalachia there. I don't know. There's something about being in a small town. So I'm outside Chicago. I'm like 45 minutes outside Chicago. We were in the city the last 2 weekends. My brother lives in the city. I like being in the city, but I also like the country. I like having my space. Grandpa up in Wisconsin had 290 acres. My wife's grandfather, I'd go for hikes, and he had a creek and a spring, and this is the wood from his farm and his trees, and I could make myself pretty busy with a pole barn. Being in the mountains would be great. What's the best way to get a flat surface without planing or drum sanding? I mean, you can use a hand plane. That's the way they used to do it. You could also get a block of wood with some sandpaper, some stickum sandpaper, and sand across and then up and down. You can get a piece of wood pretty flat. If you saw the Jenga guitar, that's how I did that. Why the J200, John? I don't know. I want the biggest, fattest acoustic that I could find. Either Super 400 or J200 is it. I also want one out of maple. I want a bright guitar. I have a Martin D28 in the basement that I hide from my kids, so the kids know they can play with any guitar that's out. I have a collection that I've put away and hidden that they cannot touch, and one of them is a D28. And I don't want them to touch any of my good gear. I don't know. I want a J200. I guess that's the Patience guitar or something like that. I'll let them play with any guitar that's out. I've got the V out. I've got the Explorer. I've got 3 tellies, 4 tellies, a couple Strats, a Jazzmaster. I'll let them play with anything, but like I've got some good stuff downstairs that I just don't want them to touch. But I want a J200. I think that's the largest acoustic. That or the Super 400 is the largest acoustic, and it's got to be out of maple because it's got to be bright and it's got to be crisp. We'll figure it out. All right, we're getting to 50 minutes here, and this is strong. If you guys are wondering what I'm doing, I'm drinking 15-year Resilient bourbon, 127 proof. It bites, man. It's got way peppery. 9:50 here in the Midwest. It is almost midnight in the East. Mark, you got to go to bed. Got some folks. I think we're going to call it, guys. It's 50 minutes. We'll see what kind of views we get over the next 2 days. My Monday, Tuesday videos always suck. So we'll see. I've got a video coming over the next couple days on stamping and branding my necks. I got a specific request to brand a neck, so I did that in a video. I'll post that probably Tuesday. I think I'll go live Tuesday night as well. Have I tried an L7 is more economical than a Super 400 or an L5? No, man, I need the big guitar. My holy grail guitar is the T-Bone Walker ES5 Switchmaster. I have come very close to purchasing it twice. That's how I actually got onto the Walter Becker auction with Julian's. I saw one, and when I went down to Nashville, Carter's Vintage Guitars had a room of those guitars. They had like an archtop room, and you had like 3 of them, and I almost died. And then Gruen had a couple as well, and I'd only buy from Gruen only because I know the man. I have a somewhat personal relationship with him, and it's too expensive. It's too high of a price point. I can't get there yet, but I'll get there. Time to drop paint a body now. Nah, I won't do any more swirls or dumps. The dump for Brad was the last thing I'll do for a while, other than the black, pink, and white one that someone poo-pooed earlier. So, what other guitars do you have in your collection that you won't get your kids to? Not going to answer that question because there are some very interesting guitars in there. Sorry, guy. I mean, I have a couple Les Paul standards sitting up here that they can play at any point, but they just don't. And then I've got a 25th anniversary Strat I'm sitting on up here, which they haven't touched that one either. But some of the stuff in the basement is just for me. It comes out a couple times a year. I have some secrets that I won't share everything with you guys. All right, 52 minutes. I'm going to get a smoke and enjoy a little bit more whiskey, and then we'll go to bed, and we'll get online here, I guess, in 2 days. So thanks for joining, guys. We're at 52 minutes. I didn't think I'd go this long today, but just wanted to have a Sunday nightcap with you. I'll probably do a nightcap on Tuesday as well. So we'll see. But have a good night, man. Everyone, enjoy work Monday morning, tomorrow morning. We will chat. See you guys.